welcome to the Opera House. It's an honor to finally have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
So, Heaven and Earth, it's coming after, it seems like an endless stream of momentum for you. You had the 3-disc, what is now a classic debut, the Epic, and then Harmony of Difference followed up quite quickly. When did you find the time to record this album?
We actually started this album before Harmony of Difference.
Oh, wow.
We started this album in May of 2016. And then towards the end of the year, we did Harmony of Difference for the Whitney Museum's biannual.
Yes.
But we had already started this album, so.
Okay, and when did you come up with the idea for this record? Because I know there's a very strong philosophical idea that underpins it all.
You know, I always try to come into music with a kind of open slate, blank slate, shows, albums, songs. It really kind of happened about halfway through the record. I started to realize there was a kind of a duality kind of happening in the songs that were kind of pop. Certain songs were working and certain songs weren't. And it was, you know, I feel like there's a momentum, there's a kind of force that kind of guides things. And that sounded really Star Wars-y, but I didn't mean it to.
I'm all for the force.
So the songs that started to really kind of pop out were kind of these two sides of something that we had really been talking about a lot, about like reality and the world and why it is the way it is and how it can change. And my opinion has always been that the world is the way we imagine it to be.
Yes.
And the most difficult thing is trying to imagine the world the way we want it to be. You know, kind of what is reality and what's experience and how different or related are they. And I had this kind of statement that I kind of thought of, and it was basically like, the world that your mind lives in lives inside your mind. So what you experience is actually what you imagine, and what you imagine is based off what you experience. So that's kind of how the album started kind of like to feel like, I could feel like these two songs, and it was like every other song was basically a different side.
It seems like you really harness the notion of struggle to get creative fulfillment.
Yeah, I try to ride the wave. You know, like I try to be a servant to the music. So it's a funny story, like there's this song called Conception that we played a lot, and I wanted to put it on this album. Mm. And it's always been like a go-to song for us, like if we're having a bad show, we play Conception because it's always good, you know? And for some reason we're trying to play Conception and we just couldn't play it, couldn't get it to sound good. And there's another song that's on the record called One of One, and we were never able to play One of One. It's just always with crash and burn. And so that same day, after we couldn't play Conception, I was like, let's try to play 101. And everybody was like, you know, but then that day, like the recording you hear of that is like the first time we ever played that song right. And so I feel like, yeah, there's that energy that's kind of like moving, and especially in music, and you know, you can either kind of roll with it, or you can try to force your way somewhere else. But I always try to just roll with it.
Do you feel like you're growing into rolling with it more over the years as being a band leader and composer?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a delicate balance, because in learning music and developing yourself as an artist, in a lot of ways, you're learning how to go against that current, because you get your own musical power, you know? But as you get older and you start to really learn that, like, using that kind of musical strength that you have to go with the current even more is where you really get into some really beautiful things. And
do you have the song titles in mind when you compose the songs, or do they come to you as keys throughout the process and understanding what kind of statement you're trying to make with this record?
Most of the time when I'm writing, I try to let the music come to me, and then somewhere along the process I'll figure out what it is. Mm. Harmony of Difference was a different thing for me. That was one occasion where I made that whole record, like the concept, the titles, the idea of this record came before the music.
Yes.
And I wrote the music to fit the idea. Usually for me, like a real small musical idea will come, like a rhythm, a chord, a bass line, and a part of a melody, or even just like a musical idea. Like, I'm gonna write a song that's a different kind of version of rhythm changes. And then I'll start to find the meaning in it as I'm working on it, you know. So this record was mostly songs that happen like that.
So with the formality of Harmony of Difference and then the kind of string of collaborations you've had over the years, including Herbie Hancock, which just got recently announced, I think, how is this all informed into the music and the record that you've just made? Do you think about these types of collaborations, or are they, in your mind, a separate thing when you're into the studio?
No, it's song by song, you know, and I'll have an idea for a person for a song, but then even that, like, sometimes it changes in the moment, you know, like there were ideas I had of people I wanted on certain songs, and then once we started playing them, the music went in a different direction. So I do really try to, like, just go with it and not fight against it.
How do you hope that listeners will first experience this album? What's the ideal environment in your mind?
You know, it's an interesting album because I don't see it as like a volume 1, volume 2 kind of a thing. I see it kind of as a parallel. So like usually when I'm playing the album for someone, I go back and forth.
Oh, wow.
So I guess like if you're for all those DJs or home DJs, you know, set up both your turntables and go back and forth. But you can also listen to it straight through one, straight through the next one. They're kind of scattered ideas that form a journey, but you don't really have to go in sequence. It's different than like the epic, which I saw as like a real arc journey. Started one place and went to another one. This record is kind of the sea of my mind, or the sea of a mind, or the idea of consciousness and understanding. And so in that, it can go in a lot of different directions.
Did you record this album in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
How do you think Los Angeles has changed over time, and is it still the kind of best place for you to do your thing in the studio? Yeah,
well, I definitely found a really cool studio that I like to work in there. Los Angeles has changed a bit. I mean, it's because it was always a very self-contained city musically, especially when you think about like kind of quote-unquote art music. The world wasn't really looking at us, and we knew it. But at the same time, we still knew we had something special. Now it does feel a little bit more like, you know, the eyes are kind of on us. But that hasn't turned into anything other than just inspiration at this point. You know, people don't really know exactly what that means, like LA, music, jazz, soul, whatever, hip hop. It's still pretty loose. And so in that, we still have the freedom. And so right now it's a beautiful time because it's just like, you have all the freedom, but now you also have opportunity. Because sometimes as a musician, you'll have these really grand ideas, but it's like, well, if you don't have anywhere to do it, it'll kind of die. The idea will die. But when you know, like, oh, if I do this, it'll actually happen, you know, then, so I feel like it's a good time in Los Angeles right now. It's different than what it was when we were coming up, but it's a good time still.
And with recording this album, you said you were only in the studio for a few weeks? Is that right?
We did most of it in a course of, I think, about 12 days. We did all the band. Like, so I usually record the band like all together. And then I've always liked to incorporate more compositions, but I usually do that after. Because I want to leave the band free to be open and to be able to create and be in the moment. And then I'll write around that. So then I went back on the road and I basically was writing music over music for a few months. And then we went back for another week and did orchestra and choirs and a few extra songs that we didn't get in that first pass. So yeah, about 3 weeks, I guess, total.
3 weeks is still considered very quick in this day and age where it seems like it only takes more and more time to make music as technology creates more and more possibilities.
Yeah.
What's the ideal day in the studio for you from when you wake up to the end of a session?
I mean, we're pretty quick because I kind of just go with the flow and I don't try to force things. When we're in the studio, and we're all kind of a like mind in that sense, like 2, 3 takes tops. After 3 takes, it's not right, it's not meant to be, and we move on to something else. And so for this record, it was mostly songs that they didn't really know, the band didn't really know, so I would spend some time with each person individually, kind of just explaining how I see the music and the directions I see it going in, and like, because a lot of these songs They weren't really written in the classical sense of like, this is C minor to F minor to E to B flat. It was more like just kind of colors. And so I would have to kind of tell them like, this little cluster that I have right here, this is what I think it is. And you know, we talk like, what do you think it is? Like, oh, I think it's this. And we get to kind of go back and forth, and we kind of get to a place where we all kind of have a collective understanding of what the music is. And then we would just play.
Go for it.
Most of the songs on the record are first takes. And even those songs that we did two takes, it was like, first take was the one, you know? And it's like, when it felt like the energy was gone, we would stop.
What is one thing that you would like people to take away from this record?
I want people to take away a sense of empowerment. You know, I as a person who lives on this planet, it can be kind of intimidating, and you can kind of feel like you can feel powerless. And you can feel like the world is moving in these directions that don't feel right, but it feels like you can't do anything about it. For me, like kind of coming to that understanding that actually my reality and my existence is really kind of up to me, and no one can really stop that, was very empowering for me. And I feel like when you zoom out, it seems like the world is just kind of dark, kind of place that has all these kind of bad things happening. But then when you zoom in and you meet all the people, and most of the people I meet are like kind of really cool people. I really do believe that there are way more people who want the world to be a beautiful paradise for everyone than there are people who want to like make it dark and want to like hurt people and want to bring people down and want to like do bad things. But it's just that we don't all exercise this power to make the world the way we want it to be. You don't have to make some foreign country far away what you want it to be. You can just make your world the beautiful place that you want it to be. And if all of us that want the world to be beautiful were doing that, it'd be beautiful. So I just hope people take that away. Like oh wow, like I really do have the power to make this planet what I want. My world will be what I want it to be. And
That's an incredible message, very inspiring. Thank you, Kamasi.
oh yeah, thank you.